My name's Sam Long. I'm a high school science teacher, and one of my focuses is developing gender inclusive biology curriculum so that all students can see their identities represented in science class. When most students learn biology, they are told that science supports a binary of both sex and gender. They're not taught that sex is not the same as gender. And if they identify as LGBTQ, they don't see anything that indicates, well, their existence. And they don't see anything to suggest that they could be a part of science, that they could be scientists, and that their identity fits in with the science that they're learning. So when I started teaching biology, I started mentioning it briefly, teaching about genetics. There's a lot of opportunities to say, well, we've been talking about XX and XY. This is not the same as gender. There's differences, and it's not just a binary. There's people that have chromosomes other than XX and XY. And I started taking some opportunities to normalize that diversity and say, well, it's not actually that uncommon, and it's a part of human diversity. Since I'm a trans man, I thought it kind of obvious to talk about it. Since students knew about my identity, it would almost be weird for me to not mention that. That, well, I'm teaching you this canonical science that it's still there in every textbook, but it doesn't represent all of human identity, and it doesn't represent me completely. So students generally responded well to that. And then I started to think about what are other opportunities to bring that in. Students that aren't typically the most enthusiastic about science started to really become interested and perk up and want to ask a lot of questions and want to discuss that in class. So anything that pulls more students into science because they realize that science is something that can be for everyone, that can represent all identities. Anything that pulls more students into science is something that I'm interested in. I realize that most teachers aren't doing this. It's not in their curriculum resources, and they haven't received the training they need to be confident talking about gender or sexuality in the first place, most teachers. And so this piece that I published in the assembly and this work that I've been doing gets more teachers feeling more comfortable with talking about this. I hope to give some examples of how that can play out in the classroom and show that it is being done and that it can have a positive impact on students. And the one thing that I want people to take away from the article is that science includes all identities, and that biology has more than enough room to represent diverse identities, and that a binary is really not an accurate way of teaching any concept of sex or gender or any part of science. We have rules and we have patterns, and the idea of a binary sex or gender is just a pattern that occurs, and it's not something that applies to every situation.